My hair is doing this weird thing because I'm like in between, my bangs are like too long but too short, and I don't know if I should get them cut again or if I should let them grow out. I guess I could use a haircut anyways. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, I wanted to go ahead and share some books that I'm going to be unhauling. I have quite the box over here, and then I have this other stack of books that I'm going to be adding to the pile. The one I'm really having a hard time getting rid of is the Wicked Lovely series. I have attempted this book now 3 times, and it's like in one ear, out the other. I cannot focus on it. I cannot get into the story. So I did try to kind of look up some reviews on it, and I just think that if I force myself to read it, I'm going to be disappointed in the long run anyways, because it is supposedly very much like a pattern of the young adult novels that had come out during its time. And I have just grown out of that phase. I have the whole set. I got them all very, very cheap, so it's not like I'm like fretting over like losing the cost on the books. It's just that I really wanted to enjoy them. This is the other box of books that I have ready to unhaul. This one was kind of another one that was kind of challenging to decide to get rid of, but I kind of read into the first chapter, and it kind of relies, it's like a true story about this family, and she's a comedian, and it does kind of rely on a little bit more slapstick humor than I generally like. I just feel like I'm not going to enjoy that one. This is another young adult series that I just feel was not vibing with me. I held on to it for so long. I thought I was going to enjoy it, but again, it's just kind of, I'm just outgrown this style of writing, I guess. This one is an autographed copy, so that's kind of cool. I know that they might give me more credit for that one at the store. Then we have this one, and this is probably the only John Green book that I actually really liked. Granted, I also like these other 2 People's Stories. I just don't, and I really liked it, and I thought, well, maybe I will like read it again come winter, because it was just a really fun, and so time to get rid of it. This one again is another young adult. I just started reading it just the other day, and I could just tell it's just not for me. This one as well, I just was not getting into it. This one's just a really old, beat up copy, but I have a really nice, pretty edition of it, and I don't need 2 copies of it, so that's going. They probably will not take this one because it's too beat up. Whatever books they don't want, I can take to little free libraries. Neither of my kids was interested in reading this manga. I'm not the type of person that's going to go and purchase mangas. I feel like for the reading time you get out of them, they just, they're too expensive. The Wife, I really did not care for this book. Same with this. I love Black Butler. This is one manga I would read, but I'm not going to go buy the other ones. I just happened to get these mangas either free or incredibly cheap. I had 2 copies of this book. I got rid of one of them not too long ago, or I think before we moved here, but I held on to 1 copy, and it was really hard because the covers are so beautiful, but at the end of the day, I really didn't care for the story that much. I mean, it was okay. I would say it was like a 3-star, you know? This one I never ended up reading. It's just, you know, this one, Interpreter of Miladies, this is a Pulitzer Prize winning book or author, but this, I just could not get into those stories. I didn't care for them. Yeah, this one is just, I remember really liking the book, but then towards the end, I felt that this story just kind of was like, I don't know. I'm never gonna read it again. And it is a signed copy, and I just don't want it taking up space on my shelf. This one also was really good, a really good dark academia novel. It wasn't excellent, but again, like, okay, I've read it, I am done reading it, time to get rid of it. This one I just could not get into. It just was not very good. And 12th Night. I just don't really like these editions, and this one was also really marked up, so yeah. I'm just gonna start being much more picky about the kinds of things that are on my shelves. So I'm just gonna take these to Second and Charles, see what they want. I might just do a little bit of browsing, and then I did want to go to the library. They have like a little library bookstore, and I just haven't been in there for a really long time. I'm also gonna get rid of David Copperfield. This is just a terrible book. I couldn't get into it at all. Then I switched over to the audiobook, and it was a snooze fest. There's no point in forcing yourself through a book when there's a million other books that'll probably capture my attention. So yeah. Hey guys, how's it going? I hope the lighting isn't too bad in here this afternoon, but it should be all right. Anyways, I just wanted to share all the books that I ended up trading. So Second and Charles ended up giving me $20 store credit. They didn't take all of the books, but they took a good portion of them. And books, I did also end up going over my store credit by about $16, but that's okay because I got some really good books. I did also go into my library's bookstore and picked out some things too, so I'll go ahead and share what I got there. So the first book I'd like to share is this one called The Museum of Magic by Beth Revis. This one follows a girl named Emmy who lives or grew up in this house, which was built by one of her famous witchy ancestors. Since then, her grandmother has converted the house into a museum. And Emmy really does not believe in magic at all, despite her family history. But that all changes when a fae boy named Puck winds up in her house being hunted. So this just sounded really good, and I will share with you, I got a copy of Diviners, but this kind of reminds me of Diviners in a way. There is that one. The next one is called Queen of the Slayers. This is a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan fiction, and it sounds so good. Obviously, otherwise I would not have gotten it. This follows Buffy and the Slayers after season 7 from the TV show, when and after the Slayer power has been bestowed upon all potential vampire slayers. The only problem is there's another Slayer out there who wants to take all of that power back and keep it for herself. So Buffy has to figure out how to stop this person. This next one I kind of messed up, and it's not very clear that it's a sequel, but this is actually the sequel. The first is called An Anatomy of Stars. But basically it's a science fiction series, and it takes place on this planet where there is this indigenous people. I don't know if you call them people, but it's these indigenous race of beings that kind of like connect to each other. So it gives me major Avatar vibes. But regardless, what really stuck out to me about this book is that it's really supposed to speak on like the human impact and like the things that we do to manipulate nature and how that affects the world. So that alone like hooked me from the get-go. But as you can see, this amazing cover, sorry, the glare, this amazing cover. I guess the humans have been doing experiments on animals. And so that's where we get this whole like anatomy of beasts. I cannot wait to get the first book so I can read this series. So it sounds so good. The next one I got is actually a sequel as well. This one's called Night Country, and the first one is called Hazelwood. This book was like $2, so, and it's like brand new. So yeah, there is that one, The Night Country. The next one I got was the Diviners. I have been looking for a copy of the Diviners forever. I listened to this many years ago, I guess back in, it was a year I went back to college. I listened to this on audiobook, and I remember really, really liking it. It was one of like the longest audiobooks I'd listened to when I started reading audiobooks, and I remember really liking it. Ever since then, I was like, I will one day get my hands on a copy, and I can't wait to reread it. So finally I have it to add to my shelves. I didn't actually explain what this is about. So this takes place in the 20s, and this follows a girl named Evie who has a supernatural ability, and it causes her a lot of problems. So I guess she tries to keep it a secret. All she really wants to do is just party and go out, and so this kind of gets in her way. And I guess she is either chooses or she is sent to live with her uncle Will, who lives basically in a museum. And I want to say it's an occult museum. So she lives in this museum now, and her uncle Will gets called to a scene, and she ends up getting wrapped up in this mystery. And she realizes that her ability can help find this serial killer. So yeah, it's like a young adult supernatural mystery. Next is First Life, and I've had my eye on this one for a really long time, so I'm really glad that I finally found a copy that I'm willing to pay $2.50 for. Like a price point for certain books, I will not pay more for it, and I will just keep my eye out until they're at a good price. This follows a girl named Tenley. She lives in this mental institution, and she is like the craziest of the crazies, but it's okay because it's just her first life. So because she meets this, I guess, standard, her parents can choose where she lives in her next life or after she dies. So it's something like that. So I guess everyone here has their first life, and then after that they can choose different realms to live in after they die. So yeah, I feel like this has so much potential for lots of world building. I do unfortunately feel like it's going to let me down, but I still have to know for myself. I just want to know. So, and lastly, from my trade-ins, I got this one's called Willful Impropriety, and I'm not gonna lie, it's probably the cover that hooked me, because that is just like some gothic beauty cover art there. But this is a collection of short stories, and it says 13 tales of society, scandal, and romance. But I am really hoping we get those gothic vibes that the cover art gives, so wish me luck. So moving on to the books that I found at my library, we got Star Daughter. This one follows a girl named Chital, who she has this like secret gift, and she definitely looks different than other people. Like she's got like silver in her hair and some other like little quirks about her. And it's all part of this big secret. And the closer she gets to her 17th birthday, the more this like pull towards the stars gets. And then because of all this, her dad gets injured. And so out of desperation, on her 17th birthday, she decides to follow that calling to the stars so that she can help her dad. But in order to get what she needs to help him, I guess she's gonna have to do something out there, and it's gonna be a lot more complicated than I guess she thought, because of the dark forces that want to close the gates to these realms for good. So yeah. Then we have this one called The Novice, and this is about a guy named Fletcher who one day discovers that he has this power to summon demons. So after discovering this, he and his new demon friend go off to this academy where he gets to learn about summoning. One day he can potentially fight the war and be a battle mage. And in this world, some of the creatures that they have to fight are orcs. I don't know if that's all they have to fight. It just specifically on the synopsis it says that they have to fight orcs. So, rhapsodic. In this world, if you need a favor, you go to a bargainer, and he can get you anything that you need for a price, and he will come to collect. Kind of gives me like devil vibes, right? But for Callie, which you learn is also short for Calypso, he has never come to collect on her favors until he needs help to save his people. All right, this one I'm just gonna read the back of because I don't want to paraphrase because it's perfect the way it is. And this is Pygmy by Chuck Palahnik, which we all know he's got some wackadoo books. Pygmy is one of a handful of young adults from a totalitarian state sent to the US disguised as exchange students. Living with American families to blend in, they are planning an unspecified act of massive terrorism that will bring the big dumb country and its fat dumb inhabitants to their knees. That's that one. And lastly is books 1 and 2 of this series, and I mostly picked these up for my son, but I would actually be interested in reading them as well. It's a Nightmare Academy series, and this is Monster Hunters and Monster Madness. He can conjure up monsters from his nightmare, and he gets to go to this academy where he can learn to control. That wraps up today's book haul. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.